Imagine standing on a battlefield, completely surrounded. Behind you, thousands of desperate warriors, trapped and starving. In front, an army of reinforcements, massive, relentless, closing in like a tidal wave. The walls you built to trap your enemies have now turned into your own cage. Any mistake means total annihilation. Yet one man didn't just survive this impossible scenario. He engineered his way to victory. How did Julius Caesar, against all odds, outmaneuver and outfight an enemy that outnumbered him 4-1? What tactical genius turned what should have been a disastrous defeat into his greatest military triumph? This was the Battle of Alesia, the decisive moment in the Gallic Wars. The rebellion, led by the formidable Vercingetorix, had pushed Rome to the brink. But at Alesia, Caesar didn't just fight a battle. He staged one of the most brilliant sieges in military history. This wasn't just a Roman victory. It was a masterclass in strategy, deception, and sheer determination. A battle that would seal the fate of Gaul and propel Caesar toward ultimate power. The Gallic Wars had raged for years. Rome, under Julius Caesar, sought to conquer Gaul, but uniting the fiercely independent tribes was impossible. Until one man changed everything. His name, Vercingetorix. A charismatic and brilliant leader, Vercingetorix did the one thing Caesar feared most. He rallied the Gauls under a single banner. Using scorched earth tactics, he denied the Romans food and forced them into brutal battles. For the first time, Caesar was struggling. After a costly victory at Gergovia, Caesar found himself on the defensive, his reputation at risk. But Vercingetorix made a critical mistake. He retreated to Alesia. Alesia wasn't just any stronghold. It was a fortified hilltop city, nearly impossible to attack. The Gauls believed it was unbreakable, but Caesar saw an opportunity, not to storm the city, but to trap Vercingetorix inside. What happened next would become one of the most legendary sieges in history. Vercingetorix and 80,000 warriors were now trapped inside Alesia, but they weren't worried. The city was fortified, had supplies, and, most importantly, a massive Gallic relief army would soon arrive. To them, it was only a matter of time before Caesar was the one surrounded. But Caesar had no intention of waiting to be crushed. Instead, he executed one of the most audacious siege strategies in history. Rather than attack Alesia, he built a wall around it. A massive 10-mile-long wooden fortification, complete with trenches, watchtowers, and deadly traps. His plan? Starve the Gauls out. But he didn't stop there. Caesar knew a relief force was coming, so he built a second wall, 14 miles long, facing outward. Yes, you heard that right. He built a double fortress, trapping Vercingetorix inside and protecting himself from an attack outside. Caesar's army of 60,000 was now a human vice, crushing the Gauls from both sides. This was not just a siege, it was engineering warfare at its finest. Inside Alesia, food began to run out. Vercingetorix sent desperate riders to call for reinforcements. But time was running out. The moment of reckoning was coming. Inside Alesia, panic set in. Food was running out. The once mighty Gallic warriors now faced a slow and agonizing death, not by Roman swords, but by starvation. Desperate, Vercingetorix made a ruthless decision. He expelled thousands of civilians, women, children, the elderly, out of the city to conserve supplies for his fighters. But Caesar was merciless. He refused to let them pass through his fortifications. Between the walls of Rome and the gates of Alesia, the innocent were left to die. But Vercingetorix had one final hope: reinforcements. The message had been sent, and soon a massive Gallic relief army arrived. Estimates range from 120,000 to 250,000 warriors, dwarfing Caesar's 60,000 men. The siege had now flipped. Caesar was the one surrounded. Inside, Vercingetorix's warriors prepared for a final breakout. Outside, the relief force got into position. The Romans were now caught between two armies, outnumbered nearly 4-1. Then on a fateful day, the Gauls launched a massive, coordinated assault, a two-pronged attack from both inside and out. If Caesar's lines broke, the Romans would be slaughtered. The Battle of Alesia was about to reach its climax. The ground shook as the Gallic relief army charged, slamming into Caesar's outer defenses. At the same time, inside Alesia, Vercingetorix's warriors erupted from the city gates, launching a desperate breakout attempt. For the first time, the Romans were completely overwhelmed. The outer wall buckled under the sheer force of the Gallic assault. At one weak point, near a marsh, the relief army broke through, sending waves of warriors surging into the Roman lines. If they succeeded in widening the gap, the battle and the war would be over. Caesar knew this was the moment of truth. Dressed in his famous red cloak, he personally led his troops into battle. Fighting side by side with his men, he rallied his legions for one final stand. Then, in a brilliant tactical move, Caesar unleashed his cavalry, sweeping around the Gauls' exposed flank. The relief force, caught between the Roman cavalry and the fortified walls, collapsed into chaos. One by one, the Gallic warriors fell. The massive army that came to save Alesia routed. Inside the city, Vercingetorix watched in horror. His last hope was gone. The battle was lost. The next day, he surrendered. With his forces annihilated and no escape left, Vercingetorix had no choice. In a dramatic moment, he rode into Caesar's camp, removed his armor, and knelt before his conqueror. The once mighty leader of the Gauls was now a prisoner. He would be taken to Rome, paraded in Caesar's triumph, and later executed. The victory at Alesia marked the end of Gallic resistance. Gaul became firmly under Roman control, bringing wealth, power, and prestige to Caesar. But this victory did more than secure Gaul. It propelled Caesar toward ultimate power. The man who won Alesia would soon march on Rome itself. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's greatest battles, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic stories of strategy, power, and conquest. Got a favorite battle you'd like us to cover next? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.